everybody, and welcome back to the United Stand, and the Therapy Forum is on as Nottingham Forest, one of our own, Anthony Elanga, beats Manchester United 1-0. Still not got 2 successive league wins this season in the Premier League for Manchester United. It is super frustrating, a super frustrating watch. We're going to get into it, and we have Kev, Mods and Ricky. I mean, guys, it's not exactly the welcome back you want from the international break, is it? And it just feels like every international break we have, we always come into it super slow with a poor result, especially after we ended going into the international break on such a high. I mean, how are you all feeling?
Yeah, what a start to the forum. I think we've had a little discussion, but do you know what? I know you've introduced it as a therapy forum. In a slight way, I've seen little signs today that give me a bit of confidence, and it sounds very strange, but okay. I would say I think we played a lot worse in games under Amorims and actually, won games. So you flip it around slightly. I think certainly in the first half, I thought it was probably the best 45 minutes of football I've seen with the Amorims system. I thought we were getting players high up the pitch. There seemed to be a lot of support, and I kind of like that. So from that sense, I know there'll be a lot of people watching going, Kev's always super positive, but no, I do. I think there's positives to take from today.
I get where Kev's coming from, because there were some good footballing parts, but I'm sorry, I've got to say it. We're 20 points behind Nottingham Forest in the Premier League. 20 points behind them.
That's not a reflection of tonight's game, though, is it, Beth? You've asked him what to think about tonight's game.
No. I'm bringing it into the rest of the show, like in the question I'm about to ask now. 20 points behind them, the third in the Premier League, and this is what I was about to correspond back to Kev's point. A lot of people will be like, "Oh, Kev, your standards are so low. We've just lost 1-0 to Forest." I was about to say, Forest are a good side. Forest are a very good side. They're third in the Premier League. They're probably going to get Champions League football, and we have had some shocking results this season. We have lost games against teams that are in the bottom half of the table, and we have been massively outplayed by them. So today, we struggled to get shots on target. We struggled to create goal threat. That's nothing new, but like you said, there were some patterns of play that you can take positively, I suppose. I mean, Ricky, you just said you agreed. Is that how you feel? Because a lot of people come back at that and say, when did we ever make the keeper make a save? Like we weren't really we weren't really battering their goal, but in possession we were decent at times, would you say?
In the first half especially, I thought we were playing really well, if I'm honest. I mean, we didn't get into the many good positions, but looking after the ball well and moving it around the park, and some really good short passing movements, and then getting it out to the other flank. I thought the commentators were saying the same thing. I don't know if you was listening to what not that means anything. What a fantastic game it was. The first half it looked like 2 really good sides playing against each other.
I heard that, yeah.
And I knew Ricky would love that. When I seen the intricate passing going on in the middle of the field, one touch round the corner, we were breaking lines and that, I thought, this it seems to be clicking together, but obviously
it just looks like there's something afoot, perhaps. It takes a bit of going, but we need more goal threat. Garnacho's not the answer on the flank, and obviously strikers maybe not quite up to it, but we did play some good football until that bit, getting it in the box, and it looked pretty good for quite long periods, really, if not most of the first half.
Well, Ricky, there's a lot of comments coming in the chat. I think it's coming over from Mark Stream saying, in Ricky's voice, "I told you so." I think we can rewind to the fans forum. Oh, I need to get this clip back up, where you're arguing with Double A actually at the time, and he's saying Elanga's not good enough for United, and he never showed it in United shirt, and you go, "He never had a chance," like that. I think a lot of people, most Manchester United fans, are quite guilty of saying they thought it was time to move Elanga on. I think all us three said that. I'm looking at it now and I'm like, he's better than all of our wingers apart from Ahmad. All of them.
There's not much to choose between him and Ahmad. Ahmad's class. He's absolutely class, but so's Elanga. It'd be great if we had them both.
So do you think Amorims sat there on the sideline thinking, I wish I had him to pick from in my team?
Yeah, he'd be thinking that about McTominay, sitting second in Serie A. No doubt about it.
Come on, Ricky, man.
No,
Come
no
on,
doubt about it. We wouldn't be second in Serie A. If we were in Serie A, we'd be about 9th.
That's a wild take, man. And do you know what?
Into the
Do you know what I wanted to say? I wanted to say to Beth, Ricky, Mark, everyone behind the scenes, the Dublin show, absolutely brilliant. Until I heard Ricky and I thought, how many pints of Guinness has this man had when he's saying, we need more Jadon Sanchos in this team. We need more players like Sancho, and that killed it for me. I thought, how's he keeping a straight face saying that?
He's playing for the top 4, isn't he? And he plays all the time. What I mean, what's difficult to understand here?
No,
What, so you just go over to a club? You tried this one with me with Ashley Young that time when you said he went to Inter Milan and ripped it up, and you were saying he was better than Wan-Bissaka.
Well, he was at the time. He's still playing. Now he's about 40 now.
Come on, man.
Wan-Bissaka won't be playing Premier League football when he's 40. Mark my words.
Hey, Wan-Bissaka's doing all right at West Ham now.
He's doing all right, yeah.
One thing I have to say is I definitely think Elanga would be suited to this formation and system a lot better than what Garnacho is. Yeah. I mean, we're going to get into Garnacho in a second.
He'd be suited to any formation better than Garnacho would be.
I think, no, he's better.
Or any position.
He's better than Garnacho. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah, far.
I mean, I don't want to just go on it with recency bias because, you know, like a player will have a bad game and it's like, oh, everyone's better than him. But, you know, you've got to look at the overall player. But I think it's obvious, like his speed, his strength, his technical ability, his football intelligence, his decision making. Everything is better. Like everything's better.
Decision making's the main one. I don't know whether we're getting on to Garnacho now, but I was going to say, you know, when you look at a game like that, and Amorims must have been pulling his hair out on that sideline, the amount of times that Garnacho actually got into promising positions, and don't get me wrong, 10 out of 10 for work rate, actually getting into them positions, but it is becoming a huge headache now. For the manager, if you're the manager on the sideline, you'd be looking at this kid and thinking, and I know there was talk about him maybe leaving, there was a bit of a backlash, you know, and we can't sell him, it's Jim Ratcliffe that wants to sell him, it's purely down to a financial kind of thing. You know, the question would be, is he ever going to fit in as a number 10 in this system? I can't see it. And I'm not just jumping on him for tonight's performance. You can probably go back over the last 10 games, you know, and we talk about statistics. Where's the goal involvement, assists, where's the goals? It's kind of dried up for him, but he just looks a bit lost at the minute at Manchester United, I think.
He seems to be an absolute nailed-on starter as well, don't he?
Yeah.
That's a big concern.
And it has been a huge issue.
Like I said, I don't think he's been developed in the right way, and I think he's been over-promoted, and I think there is something there with him. But I think he's been way over-promoted, and I tweeted this out in the game, and I was like, what Premier League teams does he start for? Yeah, like you said, he's like a nailed-on starter for us right now. And it's like, what other Premier League teams does he start for? And that's where we're at. I see people saying, you know, Højlund's got potential though, Garnacho's got potential though. That's 2 out of your front 3. We cannot score goals. We don't have any goal threat. I was saying before this show, can you imagine if City, Liverpool, Newcastle, you know, all the top teams in the league put their centre-back as a striker and they were the best goal threat out of their attacking players?
Plus 17-year-old
out of all their attacking players. It just wouldn't happen because their attacking players have got quality. Our attacking players are not at the level needed. And I think one of the big problems that we have, one of the big problems that we have is that our attacking options are not good enough. We need a striker in the summer, and you could arguably say we need 2 creative midfielders as well. 2, not just 1, 2. We massively need to overhaul our attacking options, and Garnacho does come into that. It's not just him, he was particularly bad today, but he's someone you're looking at and you're thinking, this cannot go on like this continuously. And it's like, it's not as if he's not had chances. I mean, Ruben Amorims just said here, he got asked about Anthony Elanga performing at Nottm Forest, and if it's hard for him to see. And he said, no, they have to perform at Manchester United. We can't look at players that go away. They have had their chance at Manchester United. And I get that. You've got to move on. And Elanga wasn't the player he is now when he left United. I know he had attributes that Ricky clearly saw, but he's gone on, he's developed, he's got game time, and he's improved. Whether Garnacho can do that, I'm not sure if he moves on. But Maud, is it looking for you more and more that there should be an attacking overhaul in the summer, and would Garnacho, with all the rumours about him going, would he be on the cash-in list for you? Would you be selling him?
I think definitely after this game, I don't think he really put in a a little audition, if you can call it an audition, because he's done all season to kind of show Amorim what he can do. And I think today was another example of why he shouldn't be forced into the starting 11. I mean, look, today he took the most shots out of every player on the pitch.
Did he?
The most shots.
I need to get the stats.
None of them were on target. That should show you there's a big problem here. If he's taking the most shots out of both teams and not one of them are on target, there's a problem. Because first of all, why is our striker not taking as many shots as him? And secondly, if none of them are on target, then what that means your decision to take a shot wasn't a good decision. Because if most of them are getting blocked or most of them are going out, over the bar or past the post or whatever, then that means your finish is obviously not clinical enough. So you shouldn't even shoot it that much. United, I mean, half of Garnacho's shots, and I feel like one of the problems which a lot of United fans, I'm one of them, that we have with Garnacho is a lot of them come from outside of the box. I rarely see Garnacho score like screamers. Rarely. Like, it's not something that I feel like is in his game. It's not something that I feel like, oh yeah, Garnacho, no, give him a shots out of the box, he's going to get it on target, he's going to get it in top corner.
An interesting stat to find is how many goals has he scored from out. I know he scored the wonder goal at Goodison, but that wasn't outside the box.
Was it overhead?
As wonderful as it was.
Yeah.
It wasn't from outside the box.
Yeah.
So how many goals has he scored from outside the box? I'd love to know.
Yeah, I'd love to know as well. Because
just in today's game, 0 out of 5 shots on target, 0 out of 5 accurate crosses, 1 out of 5 successful dribbles, 3 out of 12 duels won, and 3 times dispossessed. It's just not good enough. Like, you can't be.
It's every week though as well. It's not like an agenda or this lot again in on Garnacho. This is every single week. He keeps getting picked. Why?
The whole team had 23 shots on target. Sorry, not on target. We have 23 shots. United had 23 shots. And we had 6 on target. 6 on target out of 23 shots.
This is what I mean.
That is not good enough. We have players, not just Garnacho, there's others as well, but he's a big culprit of it, shooting in positions where you should not be shooting. You should be passing it. You should be creating a better chance. It's footballing IQ. It's footballing intelligence. And I have no doubt that behind the scenes, Amorim is trying to work this into the players. Sometimes players, it's just it's what comes natural to you in a game, isn't it? Because we had it the same thing with Ten Hag, and it's the same thing again. And I think that's why we need attacking depth massively. I mean, go on, Mark.
And I was going to say as well, in terms of Garnacho, and I think we had the same problem with Rashford as well last season and early on this season. When you have a team where you have players whose main focus is to score, even though their main goal shouldn't be to score, you're going to create problems where they get into positions, and like you said, a lot of times we see Garnacho and you get the ball out wide. And if it was another team, let's say it was a City or an Arsenal, and let's say Saka gets the ball out wide, his first thought is, how can I create something? Foden out wide, how can I create something? Bernardo Silva, how can I create something? Salah, how can I create something? All of these guys get goals as well, but their first thought is, what is the best option right now to get a goal for my team? When I look at a player like Garnacho, and I said the same thing about Rashford all last season. Their first thought is, how can I score a goal? How can I get a shot? And I get it. Everyone wants to score goals. It's not a bad thing to obviously want to score a goal, but I feel like when that's your main focus, you're gonna end up with situations like this where he's taking the most shots. None of them are on target. They're all getting blocked. They're all going wide. Whereas if his main focus or his first thought would be, what is the best option in this position for us to get a goal? Is it a cross? Is it for me to just keep the ball and work it back round? Is it for me to cut in and pass it to the edge of the box? I think there was one opportunity where he did cut in and he passed it to, I can't remember, he did, maybe it was even this game, it was another game, but he passed it to the edge of the box and we actually had a chance. But them kind of plays are what creates more goals. But when I see someone like Garnacho, and I'm going to probably watch it back later on and look at all of his shots, most of the time he's got his head down and his first thought is, let me do a step over and try and get it in the box. And I'm thinking, that's why you keep losing the ball. And that, like I said before, Kev said, it's just poor IQ. Most other teams and most other top attacking players, their thought process doesn't start off with that. Their thought process is, how can I create the best chance for my team to score a goal? Garnacho doesn't do that.
You have your head on a swivel and you know the players around you and you know where it should be next. I don't think you're ahead. You should always be one step ahead. It's
a selfish trait, I would say, in a footballer. There is no I in the word team. And when it comes to football, you look at players like that. At this moment in time, he isn't actually good enough, to be even warranted doing what he is doing. Keep it simple, get your head up. And it'd make football look so much easier if he chose the right decisions. You've just mentioned, Maud, about Rashford. I was going to say the exact same thing. How many times have we sat here when we've watched a lineup or watched a game where Rashford and Garnacho have been the wingers in this team, and we have banged our heads against the wall and said that the decision making in that final third is non-existent. And it's no different now. we've not scored this evening. We didn't really create that much this evening. There was a Fernandez header straight at the keeper, Fernandez from outside the box. There's various other ones, obviously Harry Maguire late on, but again, you make a great point. If you want to go down the Gary Neville route of saying, we're Manchester United, we're bringing on Harry Maguire late on, and that tells you everything you need to know about United and where we are at this moment. We're putting him up front, not even playing him at the back, just looking to score a goal late on.
It was honestly, it was giving me vibes of what like a League One or Championship side would do if they were like trying to get through in like a cup game. It's like Nottingham Forest are notoriously, especially this season, great in the box. They've got physical centre-backs, physical defenders. They're a physical side. And for the last 20 minutes, what we decided to do was hoof it into the box. Unsuccessfully, continuously. Yeah, Maguire had 2 half chances, but it wasn't the right route to go down. But we have some super chats in. We'll talk more about the game. We have Barima saying we played more crosses into the box in the last 5 minutes for Maguire than the entire game. Why are we not practicing that style of attack so we do it in the entire 90 minutes? Because it's not sustainable. And it wasn't. It was a hit and hope. It wasn't anything like that was going to have any longevity to it. Ali Hussein says, for the fans who want to sell Garnacho, remember that Elanga didn't do anything for us until he left and developed. If Garnacho leaves and gets 20 plus goals and assists, those same fans would want him back. Frank Potra says 99% of what Ricky says is spot on. We need intricate passes of the ball, pass and move in the final third. I wish we still had Elanga. Magnus says, sorry Ricky, Scott is not talented enough. In Serie A you have more time with the ball, so you are wrong. But I love you anyway. We're not getting back.
Don't poke the bear. Don't poke the bear.
Oh my God.
Magnus.
Did you think it's the winning show Sunday League?
Lee Cape Town says, our problem is creative dribbling number 10s that can go past players and make proper decisions in the final thirds. Otherwise it would be the same. Paulson says, please do not lower your standards. Elanga found his level. Jacob Fatu says, never doubt Don Ricky, no matter how controversial. And Siraj says, Bruno petulance, Garner inconsistency, Xerxes unpredictability, all came together. None of these players deserve a place in the future. We fight for top 4. This is what I mean. It's like, we need to understand the level of the players we have and the fact that we are in 13th and we need a lot better. I think sometimes the players we have are massively underrated. I mean, Ricky there, a couple of super chats aimed at you. This one saying that Elanga didn't do anything for us until he left and developed. If Garnacho leaves, he'll go and get 20 plus goals and assists. What do you think about that?
That's the beauty of being able to spot a footballer. Because don't forget, I only saw the same games that everybody else saw and I thought he was good. Do you know what I mean? That's the beauty of understanding the game of football. We should have kept him, and I was saying we should have kept him, and he would have started playing more often and getting more goals and more assists. Not that that's that important. It's about how he plays. He didn't take loads of shots, did he? He gets the ball around the edge of the box and passes it and gives them goals. Do you understand what I mean?
I get you.
He's a miles better player, and I could tell while he was playing for United, and I only saw the same games as anybody else.
Would you not worry about Garnacho leaving then?
Not in the slightest.
Would you sell him in the summer?
100%.
Would you sell Garnacho in the summer, Kev?
Yeah.
We can round up that point. So would I. I've been saying that for quite a while though. I think we can get better in that position.
But what I will say though, on that point about Garnacho not being as good for United, I feel like, and we've seen this a lot anyway, younger players leaving United and finding like a new hunger. And because of that new hunger, they go out and they progress and they develop, and the less pressure as well on them means that they have a bit more time and a bit more leeway to kind of make a few mistakes and then get to the certain level and hit a certain point where they can actually be playing top level football. And I feel like that is something that's happened with Elanga. I could probably name 3 or 4 other players that same thing has happened to. Even like someone like James Garner, he left, and I don't think he would have been as good if he stayed at United. Someone like Angel Gomez, he wouldn't have been as good as he stayed at United. Probably with a couple other players. I do feel like the fact that he did leave is a big factor as to why he has got to this point. I don't think if he stayed at United for this long in this team, he would be doing that. He would be doing what he's doing this season in this team.
Different environment, isn't it?
It's a different environment, different players, a whole new management.
Expectation, levels totally different.
There's loads of reasons why he wouldn't do it. He might, but no one has.
Game time is a big thing.
And game time as well. So I think it's a good thing for him that he left, I'll be honest. I think it's helped him in the long run.
I mean, quickly, I will get on to the rest of the show, but I have to ask you this, Ricky, because it did pop into my head. You talk about being able to spot a player and then you're not worried about, Garnacho going elsewhere. I think once upon a time, you've said Rashford wouldn't be able to be successful at any any other team in the Prem. Well, not exactly them words, but you weren't hopeful of Rashford going away and being successful because you didn't think he was a good enough player. What do you make of how he's done at Villa and everybody kind of saying, he's doing really well at Villa and he's been successful there?
I've watched virtually every game. He's been horrendous. Absolutely.
It's not me. That's not from me, by the way.
Absolutely horrendous he's been. He keeps losing the ball, just like he did for us. He's putting crosses into the box that are this side, they're getting cleared away too easy. He's been absolutely horrendous. At the weekend, he got 2 goals, his first 2 goals. It's the first time he played a team out of the Championship, bro. And one of them's a pen at that. Mark my words, and I know there's a massive big upswell of opinion of Rashford again. He's been absolutely horrendous for him.
That applies to Jadon Sancho as well, That is any player from Man United, right, that goes out. I'm sorry, Ricky, that's it was a dig at you, actually. But them 2 players in particular, the big name players. I remember when Sancho, who was it against Palace or someone, passed the ball into someone. He did the hard work, took 2 players on, scored. The headline that day then was that Sancho had got an assist in this game for Chelsea, and it was like, as Amorims made a huge mistake letting him go. Same with players, absolutely.
That's so true, because it was like an assist that came off.
He just passed the ball from the side, and it wasn't like some like intricate Bruno passes. Another dig at Ricky. But the same thing is.
Don't talk to me about Bruno tonight. Oh my God.
Rashford's PR play an absolute blinder, and I don't understand why the English media are so on board with it. It literally, like you say, you scored 2 goals against Preston, in an FA Cup game, and you hear people like Gabriel Bonglehor straight on it. Oh, this is the Rashford of 3 years ago and all that. No, it's not. And even 3 years ago when he scored all them goals or whatever, he wasn't world class at Man United. I always said that myself, so I will agree on that one.
I said on the build-up show, I don't think Villa will buy him. I think a lot of people will be shocked when they don't, but I don't think they will. We'll have to wait and see. But it's just something I wanted to ask you on that point, because I had to bring it in, considering there's been a lot of people talking about it. Namaya says we cannot sell Garner. He was our only attacking threat today. We complain about players who don't fight. He ran all game. He just needs finishing work. No.
Wow.
No. Hayata S says McTominay might actually work well in this Ruben system. The industry he'd provide in the midfield would work for us massively. And we have Simply Red says this is a Garnacho we're fighting to keep. And Broadmon says Garner can't cross the ball. He always crosses the ball into the defender. That's defending him. Look up, look at your options, and then decide. Let's move on from this point, but that is the Garnacho topic covered, because I'm sure he frustrated a lot of people tonight. Next on the agenda, because Ricky brought it up, Bruno Fernandes. Ricky, you said don't talk to you about Bruno, which means I'm going to have to talk to you about Bruno. Wasn't his best game tonight. Do you think that's because Amorims moved him into the number 10 role when he's been playing in the pivot role and actually been doing really well there?
Possibly, but there was just in the first half in particular, there was two or three passes to him that were dead easy, and he let it go under his foot. Lack of concentration. On one of the occasions, it went straight to a Forest player and he fouled him. And then there was 2 or 3 really simple passes that he got wrong. One of which, by the way, I was just speaking before about Ali McCoist, was eulogising about what a good game it was and saying United have really looked after the ball and passed it around really well. And at that moment, Bruno passed a 5-yard ball straight to one of their players, you know what I mean?
Curse of the commentator.
Curse of the commentator. Yeah. But I thought he was horrendous in that respect in the first half. He sharpened up a bit in the second half, but then in the second half, I know people will say, yeah, but we're chasing the game. We are chasing the game, but you've got to be more patient. He's putting too many balls into, and you've already said this yourself, Pep, but about the team rather than about the player. Too many balls are going into the box. There's the box, and they're going in from straight angles or it's slight angles. We need to get it out here to get it into the box. He needs to be passing it constantly. Wide.
I thought we did do that.
We did in the first
today
half,
with Dorgu and Dallo. There was a few that come in from left and right.
In the second half, I mean, I'll count it tomorrow. I'll watch it again. But to me, he put far too many balls into the box from difficult positions that was never going to lead to anything.
There's nobody there, is there?
That's what I was going to say.
That's the thing, you talk about a striker, and that's. I wanted to go back to, you're bringing on Harry Maguire. It's almost like Amorims for that point. It's almost like a cry for help. It's almost like saying, You know, this is what you have left me with. Yes, I brought on Højlund. I don't believe for 1 minute that he fancies him as being his main number 9 at United. No. And now he's bringing on Harry Maguire as a striker. It's almost saying to the owners and the club, as if we don't know as fans anyway. We clearly, obviously, watch this every single week. It's almost like, this is what you've subjected, you know, this is what the mess that I have been left with, you know, and in the summer, you better back me, otherwise, you know, but you did say we're going to suffer in these moments. We are suffering.
Another example of that was when he played Kobbie Mainoo false 9 as well, instead of Rasmus Højlund.
It doesn't work, does it?
Maud's brought up a big point on the build-up show, which I thought was we can touch upon again. And that was, he was a little bit frustrated that Xerxes wasn't in the number 10, like I think a lot of us were, because he'd been playing well. I was a bit frustrated that Bruno wasn't in the pivot role, because I think Bruno has played his best football in that role as of late. And I thought, you know, that was kind of the position he was going to take up. I don't think his future is in the 10 in this system, I'm going to be honest. And then we were thinking, why is this happening? And Maud said he thinks it comes down to the fact that Højlund just isn't good enough. So Højlund's not good enough, he's on the bench, Xerxes now into 9, Bruno's now into 10, and it kind of upsets the apple cart a little bit. You might be thinking too deeply into it, and altogether I would say we do need higher quality players.
Is it not just that the last few games we've played quite well in? We've played against crap teams, and today we've played against a good team. Is it not just as simple as that?
Could be. But I'm bringing up a point to be like, could this you know, affect things? Because you are changing it. Like, Xerxes is a better 10. I think Bruno has been better at deeper. Like, he changed it, and I think it's because Højlund isn't really good against... He's not great in general, but he's not good against physical centre-backs, and Murillo and Mikulenkovic are very physical centre-backs. So he felt like he had to put Xerxes. And then it's like, he didn't want to play Eriksen there, he doesn't really like playing him anyway. Mount's too early, so it's Garnacho and Bruno then in the 10, and then you've got Casemiro and Ugarte, and it just, I don't know, I think that is a big reason why the position's changed.
If Højlund doesn't like playing against physical centre-backs in the Premier League, it's certainly not for him. I would say that straight away.
He doesn't like it, he's just not successful at it. Like, Archie, great centre-back for Spurs.
You've got to be up for the fight, though. You know, you look at top centre-forwards in this league, anybody like Alan Shearer, I was watching videos of even, you wouldn't say he was an aggressive kind of player, but even for Man United and Andy Cole, and I look at the movement, you know, even when I was a kid, like in secondary school watching Andy Cole, his movement was second to none, man. You know, to have somebody like that, and we were saying earlier, weren't we, Højlund's not slow, he's quick, but when do you ever see that burst of pace on the pitch? But Andy Cole, and I mean, I'm going back a long time here, like, but Andy Cole's movement was spinning off. He just knew, you know, the way he could pull defenders out as well. You know, it's almost this selfless kind of style of play where he could drag somebody out just to make space for somebody coming through the midfield. And I really, you know, at this moment in time, Højlund is just not capable of that, and I don't know. That's the area, isn't it? Like I say, when you're bringing on Harry Maguire in the dying stages of a game, for me, that's Ruben Amorim saying, you know, you need to help me out here, man.
Yeah, and I feel like it kind of harms Xerxes' game, because I feel like Xerxes hasn't been too bad in the past however many games. I think he's actually played pretty decent football, but for today, I felt like it was a bit frustrating for him, because there was times where United would, you know, have a good run of play in the middle of the pitch and be working up the pitch pretty quickly, and Dorgu would cross it in and there'll be no one there. And the reason why there's no one there is because Xerxes was the one who started the play. Yeah. So Xerxes is now trying to run into the box, but it's like, well, he's not quick enough. He's not, you know, he's not Haaland. He can't get into the box as quickly as another striker can. But because he's having to drop back in, and that is just his natural game. He said it already. He's a 9.5 or whatever you want to call it. He naturally is going to come deeper into play, work through the midfield, and you know, link up play, whatever. But then when the ball's going to our wingers, or not our wingers, our wing backs or our 10s, and they're playing it down the line and they're running up and the ball's moving quickly, who's in the box? There's no one there. There's no one in the box to put the crosses to. That's why we had so many crosses today, and most of them were unsuccessful because there was nobody there. You know, so it kind of, I feel like it harms Xerxes' game a little bit more, and the fact that he's now having to be the striker because he's now having to do both jobs. If he's just a 10, he can drop into link-up play, and then he knows that there's somebody behind him who's going to be in the box. But now he's having to do both of them, and it kind of just, I feel like he's had his worst game in the past probably like 5, 6, 7 games today because of that reason, because he's had to play as a striker.
I mean, you just look at other strikers in the Premier League. I mean, he's probably the best striker in the Premier League, but Alexander Isak, what he does the positions he takes up, the way he can dribble the ball, the way he can do everything. It's just absolute levels above anything that we have. I mean, there's strikers that are in and around our positions in the table that are better than what we have. It's a massive, massive part of the team. The spine of the team is so important. If you look at the spine of United's team, because it does stem down to the fact our players just aren't good enough, really. Like, we're in 13th for a reason, like, because that's what the players represent. There has been a lot of stuff off the pitch. I know we've had a change of manager, but ultimately the players, like, we need better. But you look at the spine of our team, you've got an Anga in goal who isn't good enough, let's be honest. Today he did nothing wrong, but he's not good enough. You've got Haaland up front who's nowhere near good enough. And then middle of the park, you have...
a bunch of players.
You have options. But the spine is a big problem, and our attacking options are a massive, massive problem. And I think a lot of our attacking players have been overrated. Like the fact, like on the poll today in the build-up show, it was would you sell Garnacho to get Osimhen, and it was 50-50. And it's like we need elite.
Yeah, we need somebody up front, don't
attacking players, and what we've got now is not that. But anyway, yeah.
The thing is, we thought that like Højlund was going to represent the future, and you look at past sort of strikers. I mean, barring. I mean, you could argue that Robin van Persie come to United with not his best days behind him. He single-handedly won Manchester United, you know, that league title in 2013 under Sir Alex Ferguson. But sort of since the Wayne Rooney one was obviously a massive signing because he was so young and we brought him in again. That is going back years ago. But just recently, yes, we've had Ibrahimovic, you know, we've had Cavani, Ricky's favourite Weghorst, you know, Igalo,
Ronaldo.
And you could just see it trickling down slightly. And yes, some of them were experienced, especially Ibrahimovic, you know, a player like that, bringing him to United. Cavani, absolutely loved him, but it was always like, I wish we'd have signed him sort of 7 years previous to this and got the best days out of him. So in that way, the way that it's gone with the ownership and that, this has been going on for years, but at the same time, you do look at it and think Højlund cost a hell of a lot of money in today's market. You know, they obviously identified him, or Ten Hag at the time, as this is going to be the kid. This is the long-term one. We don't want to go for Harry Kane. He's too old, apparently, anyway. But, you know, that's what you go for, and you put your eggs in that basket. But now, you know, the ownership have got rid of that manager, the one that wanted to make Højlund like the number 9 in this team, and you've got a manager, to me, that clearly is thinking, don't really fancy this kid one bit, to be honest, not my type of player. I'm sure he'd like to bring in a Gyökeres or someone like that. Osimhen's been mentioned, but anything at the minute, I'd take Fred the Red or anyone.
Well, this is a quote from Amorims post-game, and do you think this is basically saying that we're not good enough in the final third? He said, we controlled the game, but we already knew this team can score goals out of nothing. When they scored, we changed the game a little bit from what they want. We tried with good opportunities, but in the last third, the last pass, the last assist, it wasn't there. If we don't have that, we cannot score goals. He also said, let me get this bit up. Suffering the first goal in this way puts the opponent in the position they want to be in, defending with a lot of men and making the transitions. During the game, we lacked quality in the final third, which is important when you're trying to win games. So speaking about that final third, that final pass, that final decision, and that's what United fans have been frustrated for years.
And another thing as well, yeah, which I feel like he's not mentioned, I don't feel like United wanted it more than Forest, I'll be so real. Watching that game...
Oh, Forest wanted it more than us.
That's what I mean. Looking at the game, you would... I get it, Forest are fighting for something huge, but
they're
both
fighting for top
teams...
four, we're fighting for what, 12?
And you're a professional football player. You should never have an excuse of, I'm not fighting for anything, so I'm not going to put 100%. What kind of player is that? If any of the old players, I know these ex-players love to like... They act like they can do anything, but if any of those players were playing, they would fight for every single game, regardless. They could have won the league 6 games ago. They're still fighting for every single point. They're still doing everything that they can to win every single game. I even looked at the duels that everyone won before, and I looked at Xerxes. Xerxes won 0 duels altogether, like no ground duels, no aerial duels. Garnacho won 4 out of 13 duels, ground duels, 0 aerial duels won. Bruno won 7 out of 17 ground duels, which is less than half. Casemiro won 1 out of 4, which is 25%. Ericsson won 0. Like, we didn't want it. The players didn't want to win. Not that they didn't want to win, but they didn't want it more than the Nottm Forest players. And I think they have to own up and say, look, we didn't go out there and put in 100%. And when you don't put in 100%, you have no reason to win. You have no right to win against any team.
I also think on that, I agree that, like, you know, even the celebrations at the end, they're fighting for top 4. It means a lot more to them, but that shouldn't be an excuse. But I also think when you're naming the jewels there and you're naming them stats, I think this has been a problem for a long time that we need to address. Nottingham Forest are a lot better physically than we are. They're fitter, they're stronger, they're quicker.
That's not an excuse.
They're a more athletic team.
No, but you're a professional footballer. You can't use it.
No, but
do they go gym more or something?
You can try and shoulder barge someone or tackle someone, but if they're bigger and stronger than you, they're going to budge you out the way.
I can bet Elanga got more jewels, won more jewels than Casemiro and the guy. Does that mean that he's stronger than them?
This is literally the exact point, right? Did you see when Elanga burst away for that goal?
Yeah.
First of all, no one in our team's running as quick with the football at their feet as he is. So again, pace is outpacing all of our team. Lenny Yoro had to do a really good tackle to even just get near him. But what a prime example for me is Garnacho, you know, is running quick to try and tackle him. He just shoves him to the floor. Like, our team is not strong enough, quick enough, physical enough. We need more players that have that athleticism. It's a big miss in our team.
Bit of shithousery as well. A minute, I thought we were actually playing Atletico Madrid at one stage. That was almost like a Diego Simeone kind of team. The kind of tactics late on, and you fully expect that, don't you? Like you say, they're a team that's chasing Champions League. They're still in the FA Cup, possibility of winning that. So, I don't have an issue with it, you know, let them have their evening, but I think that there's definitely positives I think we can take as fans. It just sounds so strange after losing a game, but I think there is positives there, isn't there?
Robert McCormack says we played into Forest hands completely. We also have Kawiyaka saying Garnacho needs to make the early pass, he's too selfish. I mean, Magnus says, if we sell Anthony for 40, Rashford for 40, Garnacho for 60, then we can get Gyökeres and Cunha. If we get Champions League, I think Amorims going to demand Gyökeres because we need experience, not more young players. And Majra Wiwa says, only good news today is that my glorious Kev is back. The good news today is that the forum's back. And I've missed the forum, to be fair. I have missed the forum. Do you think it's confusing that Amorims speaks about needing that final pass and the quality in the final third, yet Garnacho plays 90 minutes?
Very confusing.
Yeah, makes no sense.
It's just mixed signals, isn't it, at this moment in time?
Are you questioning the manager at all? Anyone?
Yeah.
Yeah,
we're not. We're taking bad decisions, and the way he's putting that over is as if to say that the final pass that we play into the box isn't good enough. I take it a little bit deeper than that. We're not getting into good positions to make it easy to give a good ball into the box. Do you understand what I mean?
I thought we did today at moments.
We were a little
especially
bit
that first half.
But I don't think that we're not patient enough, what I'm trying to say. We don't play enough passes when we're in the final third, and then we nearly always end up putting the ball in the box when it's not quite the right time to put it in the box.
Yeah, no, I agree. Because sometimes when I watch a team, I remember back, I know City are not that great now, innit, but when they were, you know, obviously at their peak, sometimes they'd play like 30, 40 passes and not one cross.
Yeah.
It's just straight passes, side to side, back and forth.
Keep the ball moving.
Keep the ball, keep them running, because they're going to get tired, more and more tired. Yeah. And all it takes is one little lapse of concentration, one pass from one of their creative players. And obviously they had very, very good players that can play those passes. But all it takes is one split second, and all of a sudden, they've walked it into the net in the space of about 2 or 3 passes. But there was about 30 passes before that, where they were just working it around. But I feel like United, after about 10 passes, we give up.
Just give up, don't we?
We give up and think,
we'll sling it in the box.
Just sling it or shoot or whatever. Like, there's no patience in the build-up.
Do you think if Mason Mount keeps himself fit, he can get into the starting 11?
Defo.
Did you like what you saw of him when he came on, Mickey? I know there wasn't much.
He wasn't on for long, was he? But yeah, he looked all right, and I've liked what I've seen of him before. I won't be surprised if he starts on Sunday.
The last game he actually started for United was the derby.
I thought that, yeah.
I just hope the same thing doesn't happen
It was
again.
ages ago, doesn't it?
It's frustrating because I think he easily gets into one of them spots if he can just get himself fit, but he's just never fit, and it's like, you can't. It's like one of them. It's like, if someone shows you who they are, believe them. Like, it's the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, isn't it? So we'll just have to wait and see on that one. Magnus says, Kev, if we got Ibrahimovic when he was 27, he would have become a United legend. Just love the show, guys and girl. Thank you very much. I mean, Casemiro doesn't usually start games under Ruben Amorim when everybody's fit. Ugarte's back and he still started today. I don't know if Ugarte came off because of a knock at half-time or maybe because he played a lot of minutes in the international break, but Casemiro, do you think he deserves to be starting games still for Manchester United, Mods? Would you start him in the derby?
Would I start him in the derby? Look, I actually think the past few games that Casemiro's played, he hasn't been too bad. Today, I'm not too convinced. I don't think today has done him any justice. I can't look at him and say, you know what, yeah, he had a great game. I don't think anyone had a great game, in my opinion. Would I start him? I don't know. I couldn't tell you right now. But I think in terms of Ugarte, I feel like Ugarte is very much needed in this team. And I feel like there was times where even in this game where I've seen him and Casemiro, and we spoke about in the build-up actually, about the difference between how those two are going to play together. And I said the main difference is going to be what Bruno does. I think the way those two are going to play well together is if Bruno is able to complement both of them, as in by keeping it into a midfield 3 rather than making it into midfield 2. Because if it became a midfield 2, it's going to be very, very difficult for them to both handle it. And I think Ugarte, as much as he is, tenacious and whatever, he can track back a lot, it's very difficult for him to do that by himself because Casemiro's not the fastest player in the world. So I think if it is that midfield 3, as in Casemiro, Ugarte and Bruno, and they all play together, I wouldn't mind it.
Might be a little thought in the back of his head that big derby on Sunday. I also have Lyon the following week, 2 big games. Obviously, you should never throw a game, and you never would, but you've got to be able to rest players because Ugarte is going to be, I think, an important part in both of them. So, yeah, I think Casemiro's just kind of stepping into that role of, I'm here when you need me. But he's another player that needs to go in the summer. There needs to be a massive squad overhaul. I mean, let's talk about that. And we'll go across each person just to kind of wrap up the show in the last segment. Kev, how does Amorim have the best possible chance going into next season? How do United in the transfer window go out and fix this for him and give him the best opportunity? Considering, be a bit realistic, we can't just go and sign Mbappe and Rodrigo and Bellingham, but where do they need to look at? Where do they need to improve on? Who do they need to get rid of and who needs to come in?
I think there's a hell of a lot of. I think there's a lot of players that need to go. I think for every week I keep looking at certain players and thinking nothing changes. So from that point of view, I think there'll be a lot of players going if they can get rid of them. I think they have to get rid of them if they want to bring them in with PSR. The money situation at United is a concern because I look at that and think, like you say, be realistic. We can't just go out and buy the best players, but there are hidden gems out there. And if we are on the kind of bones of our arse financially, then an Aiden Heaven at 1 million, going out, getting these players, bringing them in, I think that is really the way forward for United. And I know there'll be a lot of people that will be angry and going, oh, this is what the Glazers want, this is what Sir Jim Ratcliffe wants, it's running United on a shoestring, bringing these players in, Amorim working miracles. But, other teams have done this. You look at that Leicester team that, won the league, Mahrez and players like that were in it, they didn't sign them for 100 million, and we've been down this route before. I just think
Matoma at Brighton.
There's loads of them. There's a long list of them, and Chelsea are always there to buy them at a high premium. So maybe if Amorim is looking at this, is Chido Wobby going to be the future in a year or so? Get him in around the squad, Collier. I think that there is a core of kids there who understand what United's about. And maybe we just need to get away from this, going out there, splashing 50, 60, 70 million on one player that comes in, and then we're all going, sat on here going, well, why has it not worked out? Why has it not worked out? You've got kids there who have grown up in the youth team, could have been at United, like, say, a McTominay or whatever, from 4 or 5. Listen, I'm not putting all that pressure on. I'm just saying, if Amorim wants to get this system kicked off and going, there's players in that youth team that will come in and run through brick walls for him, and that's what he wants. Sir Alex Ferguson had it with the class of '92. You know, if he can get a tune out of these youngsters and get them, you know, singing to his kind of tune, then I think that is the way forward.
I think a lot of it is going to have to come through that. I'm going to be honest. I think we need
only
to...
because financially, I'm saying we can't
financially, yeah.
go out and...
We can't unless we sell Garnacho. Sell Garnacho, sell Rashford, sell Anthony, or you might have to do an extended loan for Anthony because of his book value thing. But if Rashford goes for 30, 40 million, and if Garnacho goes for, say, 50 million, you've got money. And you need to spend that on the attack. Go and sign Cunha from Wolves for 62 million. Go and do it.
As long as the manager is, has assurances that if he gets rid of Garnacho, you know, I know there was talk of Mainu, which I find absolutely mind-boggling. But if they said that the money that you sell for these players you can reinvest, then yes, you know, I would look at that. But I would be very sceptical as to that money that comes in. You know, it doesn't seem too long ago that Sir Jim Ratcliffe was saying, oh, we were going to go out of business by Christmas this year if we continued the way I was, you know, the way we were. You look at the money we spent last summer, I know, but do you know what I mean?
The thing is as well, it's like, I completely agree with the fact that we picked Aiden Heaven up for 1 million, unbelievable business. I'd love to do more of them, but it's never a guarantee it's going to work. This United team, we've got youth. We'll probably get some more youth, we'll have to. It's crying out for some experienced Premier League players that know how to put the ball in the back of the net and can play. Someone like Acuna, it's 62 million. Yes, it's expensive, but you know he's going to come in. And for a season, you are going to get someone who is physical enough for the Premier League, someone who can score goals in the Premier League, someone who, you know, can light up a game every single week. I think that's massively important. You've got to get the blend of experience and youth. I mean, Mods, what are your thoughts on it?
One thing I would say is we are going to have obviously a lot of departures, just players who you don't have a choice of, you know, players like Ericsson and
Casemiro
and Johnny Evans. So there are going to be a lot of players who are going to leave regardless. I think one thing that we have to be mindful of is replacing those positions.
Go on, Mods.
I don't know why. I don't know why my mind went blank. I couldn't pronounce it. But replacing those positions, because if we go and lose 3 midfielders and we replace it with a striker and 2 wing backs, like we're solving one problem by creating another problem, because we're just going to have a big hole in another position which we need, but we've just solved it. We just solved another problem, but then we've created an even bigger problem here, because now, I mean, look, for United the past few seasons, one of our biggest downfalls has been depth. We've just not had enough players to play. We've had times this season where the whole bench is academy players because there's been no one available because of injuries. Naturally, there's going to be more injuries next season. I know we don't want there to be, but there is. We're kind of just used to it now. So we need to make sure we have depth in each position and not just try and focus and go and spend all of our money on like a striker or just on a wing back, but then we leave the midfield and we leave all the 10 position, or we leave even a centre back position, because there's going to be a few players there who might leave as well. You know, Maguire, Lindelof, Johnny Evans. We need to make sure we actually cover each place so we have some depth in each position, or else we're just going to fall into bigger problems.
I think United would be... I get that, and just, don't get me wrong, you need depth in the positions, but I think United would be in a better place. If you said to me now, you will have 3 certified top players that are going to be starting in that starting 11, starting next season, and I know they are good, and they are going to be very, very good level, like top 4 level, I'd say I'd rather have that than like 6 people that are like, are they good enough, are they not? Do you know what I mean? If you said to me in our starting 11 next season, there's a Cunha, there's a Gyökeres or an Osman, and then there's, what other position do we need like desperately?
Frimpong.
A Frimpong, or yeah, exactly. Or even a midfielder, a holding midfielder. I would be like, yeah. I'd rather that than like, just like 6 players where you're like, are they going to be good enough? Because, you know, you can buy cheaper. We bought cheaper with Dorgu. And, you know, don't jump on me, I'm going to bring him up. Ricky, you were a little bit hesitant about Dorgu when he first came in. Had a bit of a stinker tonight. What were your thoughts on his game, and do you think he's going to need a bit more time?
Yeah, I think he'll need a bit more time. I've not been overly impressed with what I've seen of him so far. He's decent, you know what I mean? But like you just said, we need good players, and really good players, don't we? He's just a decent player from what I can see, and whether he can become better, whether he can become more than that, only time will tell. I can't tell you for sure, but I would suggest not. He doesn't look up to it to me. I've got to be honest.
And this is what I mean when I'm like, you need a mix because he looks, again, to me, Dorgu, it looks to me is a potential player.
Yeah.
He does make a difference to our side and he brings more balance and you can see the potential.
Yeah.
But it's like, for the majority of our team, we need like players that are ready to compete now. And you need that mix. You've got to have that mix. And United cannot have another failed transfer window. You just cannot do it. And we cannot take risks in the attack. We have to have players coming in the attack that are gonna be able to provide and have that quality, because we can't go another season where we struggle to score goals. We just can't do it. I mean, overall, the defence. So is everyone quite happy with the defence? And De Ligt, another pretty decent game today. Yoro did all right. Mazraoui got bodied a couple of times, but overall our organisation probably needed to be better today. But again, you're going up against a good team that scored quite a few goals in the Premier League. Is the defence something that's kind of where you're like, we can build upon that?
I think when you're playing three at the back, it is kind of getting used to it. But Yoro coming back in, he's obviously been out for a bit. I thought he was good. He put in a great challenge, didn't he, on Elanga? I've seen him do that a few times. It's almost like that Wan-Bissaka last-ditch challenge where, your heart's in your mouth and you think, if you split second, you get this one wrong, it's a penalty. But in fairness, I've seen him do it a couple of times now, and it is kind of an art, that, because you have to time it to absolute perfection. But De Ligt for me as well, I mean, I don't get bored of talking about him, because I would call him kind of Mr. Consistency at this moment in time. He's one of the, I know we've lost Martinez to injury, but I think whoever you put in that back line, alongside De Ligt, we've spoke about it before, haven't we? He's a leader. He looks like a bit of a captain. Could be a future captain. Who knows? Whatever goes on. But he just kind of runs that back line. And I think he's absolute quality. He's been a really, really good signing. Him and Mazraoui, as a double deal. Again, when you're talking. It wasn't mega money for them two, relatively low on it. Mazraoui was about 12, 13 million. Yeah. Again, when you look at players like that and you think, wow, if you had a couple of them in you look at what Liverpool did as well. They sold Coutinho for, 150 odd million. Yeah. They literally signed players then with that money because they spent big, Van Dijk, Alisson, but they addressed the areas of the team that they needed to. They've won a Premier League, Champions League. They're going to win the Premier League this season, and it's still with that sort of core of players. And that's what you alluded to earlier, wasn't it? It's getting that core of players at Manchester United. That's what needs addressing. But I'm sure Ruben Amorim is under no illusion as to what he needs to do with this team in the summer. Massive work.
Well, Amorim alluded to the fact that Maguire's the best aerial threat in the box for Manchester United. He's the best player in the box.
Probably.
That's a little bit worrying, isn't it? If you're like a Hoyland or you're a striker.
Nah.
Depends how good you are as a striker.
Van Dijk's Liverpool's best
I don't think I get that, but I don't think, for example, if you're like a Haaland, I don't think Pep's thinking, I need to throw on Ruben Diaz up front in the last 20 minutes because Haaland's an aerial threat.
I think
it's good in the box.
I think
it's like the same with
plenty of teams. The best aerial threat that they've got comes from a centre back.
Yeah,
plenty of teams.
Unless you've got an Alan Shearer, a Duncan Ferguson, somebody like that who was even a Peter Crouch or somebody that was.
Arsenal's biggest aerial threats are both in the centre backs.
Yeah.
Literally their biggest threat in the team.
But that's from corners and stuff. It's not in the last. They don't put them up front. Yeah, but they don't.
No, that's true.
They don't put them up front in the last 20 minutes. That's what I was trying to allude to, really.
Yeah,
I know what you mean.
But some strikers aren't.
It's like Gabriel.
They're still the best aerial threat, though.
I get that, but it's like they're not going to go up front for the last 20 minutes of a game.
No.
So what you're trying to say is. It's a bit worrying for Hoyland that when we need a goal, we're not looking for him. We're looking for somebody else to try and get us a goal, which he's a defender. If I'm a striker, I'd understand that. But to be fair, it's like, I'm supposed to be getting you the goal. You're putting Harry Maguire in my position.
Yeah. You're not bringing in somebody behind me to try and unlock the door and feed me in. You're actually bringing somebody in, putting him in my position.
Yeah, I understand.
I think it does say more about Ruben Amorim and what I really do think it's a message that he's sending out to United. I really do.
It's like Martinez, he's done it with him before as well. And he's not even big.
It's worked though.
Martinez up front.
This false nine nonsense.
Did it against Liverpool?
Yeah.
Wow. Can't
I think it was Liverpool, I can't remember.
No, we did it. It was definitely. against Arsenal, but that maybe it was because he was tired.
Oh, it was when he was.
Yeah.
He was injured. I think he was carrying something. He was a passenger at that stage.
Yeah, but anyway, heading towards the derby on Sunday, everyone. Is anybody confident?
Yeah.
I am.
Do you think we're going to win the derby?
I won't say win it, but we're going to make a good fist of it.
Going to make a good fist of it. What do we all think that Haaland's out? I'm actually a bit, I'm not gutted Haaland's out because Haaland's a top striker, but I think Marmoush will probably cause us more problems. He looks like a right player.
Yeah, Marmoush is very good. Haaland, though, I just think in terms of personnel, he's just he's a threat by himself. As in, he occupies probably 2 or 3 centre backs. You have to plan your defence to occupy Haaland because you know at any split second if he turns around and starts running, it's a problem because no one's catching him. None of our defenders are quick enough to catch Haaland. None of them are probably strong enough to stop him either. And in the air, we talk about our biggest aerial threats, none of them are better than Haaland in the air. So even though Marmoush might be, he looks like a technically better player, Haaland definitely causes a bigger threat to defenders. So I think it's a good thing he's out, in my opinion. It's a good thing, yeah.
Is there any changes you'd make to the starting 11 from tonight against City on Sunday at home at Manchester United's ground, Old Trafford?
I'd definitely leave Garnacho out.
Who would you bring in for him?
Put Haaland back on.
Mason Mount, if they think he's fit enough to play. If they think he's fit enough to play, yeah, Mason Mount.
Would you bring Højlund back in up front?
Probably would, yeah. And if Mount's not fit enough to play, I'd probably bring Højlund in and play Xerxes back in the 10 role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'd agree with that. But what I would say is over the last 8 years playing Manchester City, it's a horrible feeling, but every single derby, I know you get carried away on match day, but I'm always fearful of the derby and the beatings and the humiliation we have had year after year. But I really do. Football works in cycles, and the way that City have been at this moment in time, I could safely say this is the first time in absolutely years. Even go back to last May, which is nearly a year ago, the cup final. Remember, we were in here. I was absolutely like in bits, man. I'm thinking this could be 8-9-0. We get embarrassed. Thank God we didn't. We went out and did it, but for this game, it's the first time in a hell of a long time I actually go in and think, do you know what? We'll do this lot.
But how many times do you think that we actually go in?
Yeah, well,
Every week.
I did predict 2-1 for the FA Cup final, and we did that.
I feel like when we think we're going to lose, that's when we win. Then when we think we're going to win, we lose.
I agree.
Yeah.
Would you drop Bruno back into the pivot? I would.
Yeah, I think I would.
Yeah.
It'd have to be Bruno and Ugarte. I think Casemiro in the first half started all right. I didn't agree with some of the shithousery that went on to. I think they tried getting him sent off at a stage as well. Forget who it was going over doing the old waving the imaginary card, and there was one challenge where Casemiro, in fairness, you've seen him, and he's an experienced player, went absolutely mental. I didn't think he actually touched him, and I thought the player made a right meal of it. Casemiro was absolutely livid, and rightly so. He's an experienced player, and sometimes you can tell by reactions, and I thought he was trying to get him sent off. So
one thing that would worry you is, I know, Kev, you've been quite positive, and this is the last thing we'll say, is...
Don't end on a downer. Come on.
I've just thought about it. I mean, I thought about it before, but it's come to me in the show now. Nottingham Forest have just played 120 minutes and gone to penalties. United haven't played yet. I think that's a little bit worrying that we can't even trouble them with one. We can't even score one goal. Can't even trouble them.
This is a better team than us. I think that's just what that is.
I think we're clutching at straws when we say,
And they've got star players missing.
Yeah, they've got Wood missing, they've got Hudson-Odoi missing. I think we are actually, and now I'm looking at it, I'm thinking we're clutching at straws, saying we played pretty well. We played better than garbage.
Yeah,
right?
We've had 2 weeks off. And if somebody wipes out, I'm sure if Roy Keane was on punditry tonight, he would have said, somebody needs to be wiping out Elanga there. You would have known the threat the minute, you look at Dorgu in a foot race with Elanga, and I don't think Dorgu's like slow. I was thinking, and he just made, it was like, meep, meep, like Roadrunner. It was like, Garnacho is the one then that you look, and you're thinking, how's Garnacho, in a foot race with Elanga in this section of the field? You want Ugarte. I'm sure he would have burned off Casemiro, but what you need is somebody who's a bit more switched on, that knows that threat, even though it's 7 minutes into the game, and thinks this guy's getting wiped out. You take one for the team, a yellow card, you do whatever. And then, you know, it's a different game. But from that point on then, it's a great finish as well. Take nothing away from him. Absolutely fantastic goal. But you've got a mountain to climb. The game, you know, goals change games, and we never sort of recovered from that.
I would do man of the match a magic moment, but there's no point really, because there's nothing really to pick from. Last but not least, I want a one-word answer. Put your comments in the chat. Do United win the derby?
Yes.
Mods?
Yes.
Ricky?
Draw.
Draw. I'm going to go with United win, sack it. Even though I've got no evidence to go off of that, of this game. The good games we've had under Amorims have been against the bigger team, so hopefully that works in our favour. And we're at Old Trafford. Yeah. And we've got to build some momentum going into that Lyon game, because that is a massively important one next week.
They've not beat us in 90 minutes in the last 3 derbies.
Is it? In 90 minutes?
The cup final, Charity Shield went to extra time and pence, and then we beat them at Etihad.
This season. I'm mad.
3 games under bounce, they've not beat us.
That gives us a little bit of belief, I suppose. Look, everyone, enjoy the rest of your Tuesday night. There's a little bit left of it. And enjoy the rest of your week. United on Sunday. Hopefully, they're going to repay us for this performance, and we're going to get a derby win. We'll see you then. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.